The slap at my son's wedding wasn't the worst part. It was the secret she was trying to protect. A secret the police would soon rip wide open. My name is Eleanor Vance. I'm 61 years old. And the home I'm standing in is the one my husband and I built with our own hands. A lifetime of memories tucked into every corner. This is a story I kept buried for years, because mothers keep quiet to protect their children. But my silence almost destroyed us all. If you're new here, welcome to Red Silk Revenge, where true stories of betrayal, hidden motives, and long-awaited justice come to light. If you enjoy stories where the truth always finds its way out, hit subscribe, tap the like button, and stay till the end, because this one reveals how a single slap at a wedding unraveled an entire web of lies. My name is Eleanor Vance, and until that day, that wedding day, I believed I knew my family. I believed I knew my son, my late husband's memory, and the woman my son chose to marry. I believed that no matter how bad things got, family would never humiliate each other in public. But belief is a fragile thing. It shatters in an instant, just like I did. The music was playing, the guests were smiling, and despite the anxiety I felt stirring in my stomach, I tried my best to be happy for my boy, my James Jr. Everyone called him Jamie, the spinning image of his father. Kind eyes, broad shoulders, and a quiet heart. His bride, Charlotte, was beautiful, radiant even. But beneath her perfect makeup and practiced smile, I always sensed something sharp, something hungry. A woman who smiled with her mouth, but never with her eyes. Still, she made my son happy, or at least he believed she did. I kept my distance over the months. She didn't like me much, and frankly, I didn't force the relationship. She was the kind of woman who treated courtesy as currency. You gave it only when you needed something in return. But on the day of the wedding, I promised myself I'd push all those feelings aside. My son deserved joy. I wore my late husband's favorite navy blue dress and the pearl earrings he gave me on our 20th anniversary. I pinned my hair up the way James used to like it and prayed quietly that the day would be peaceful. Things went smoothly at first. Family photos, laughing, dancing, toasts, until Charlotte approached me. She was trembling slightly, whether from nerves, anger, or something else I couldn't tell. But her eyes were frantic. "Where are the keys?" she hissed, her painted lips barely moving. I blinked, confused. "Keys? What keys?" "My house keys," she snapped in a whisper, sharper than a knife. "I gave them to you earlier when I was getting ready in the bridal suite. Give them back!" I frowned. "Charlotte, you never gave me anything." Her face changed. Not fear, not confusion. Something darker, like she realized her plan was slipping away. "Don't lie to me. Just hand them over, now!" I shook my head. "I really don't have them." And then it happened. She slapped me. Hard. The sound cracked through the wedding hall like a gunshot. Music faltered. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Every pair of eyes snapped toward us. It wasn't just a slap. It was rage, desperation, a warning. "You're trying to ruin my wedding! Give me the keys, Eleanor! Give them to me!" I stepped back, stunned, heat rising on my cheek. Before I could speak, she shoved me with both hands. I fell backward, hitting the floor so hard my head bounced against the polished tiles. Gasps rippled through the hall. Someone screamed. Jamie shouted her name. I heard everything, but felt nothing but ringing in my skull. As people rushed toward me, Charlotte stood rigid, chest heaving. Her eyes darted wildly, not toward me, not toward Jamie, but toward the exit of the venue, as if she was waiting or panicking. And that's when we all heard it, growing louder, approaching fast. Within seconds, 2 officers pushed open the doors and walked briskly toward us. The entire hall froze as the uniforms stepped inside. Charlotte's face drained of all color. She didn't even look surprised. She looked terrified. "Mrs. Eleanor Vance?" the older officer asked. My son knelt beside me. "Mom, don't move. Are you okay? Why are they here?" Before I could respond, the officer turned toward Charlotte. "And you must be Charlotte Hill Vance." She swallowed. Why? Why?" "We have a warrant," the officer said sternly. "We need to search the residence at 112 Clover Lane immediately." That was my home address, the home James and I built, the home Charlotte had been trying to get keys for. I felt my stomach drop. "What is this about?" Jamie demanded, helping me sit up. The officers exchanged a look, one of those silent exchanges that tell you everything is worse than it seems. "This concerns the illegal storage of prescription medication and potential evidence related to identity theft and fraud." The entire wedding hall erupted with whispers. I stared at Charlotte. She stared right back, her eyes wide, glassy, calculating. She knew. She knew this was coming. And the keys, my keys, were part of whatever she was trying to hide. My son's voice cracked. "Charlotte, what did you do?" She shook her head violently. "Nothing! This is a mistake. Someone set me up. Eleanor, she's lying about the keys because she wants to ruin me." The officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, we're leaving now." "I'm not going anywhere without my husband," she yelled, clinging to my son's arm. "Jamie, please, you know me. You know me. I would never—" My son gently pulled his arm away. He didn't say a word. His silence spoke louder than any accusation. The officers escorted her out. Guests stared in stunned horror as the bride, the fresh bride, was marched out of her own wedding under police supervision. As the doors shut behind them, the hall erupted with chatter, accusations, assumptions, pity, shock. But me? I sat on the floor, one hand pressed against the blooming bruise on my cheek and the other hand clutching the cool tile beneath me. And in that moment, I understood. This wasn't about embarrassment. This wasn't about a slap. This wasn't even about the keys. This was about a secret. A secret locked inside my home. A secret she was desperate to keep hidden, even if it meant humiliating me in front of everyone. Jamie knelt in front of me. "Mom, what's happening? Why would she need your keys? Why would the police come to our house?" I wish I had an answer for him. But the truth was, I had been suspicious of Charlotte for months. Her sudden generosity, her odd, nervous behavior around my medication cabinet, the strange credit card bills addressed to my house, the calls she always answered in whispers, the bank notification that had confused me last week. I wanted to believe it was just stress or wedding nerves, but deep down I knew my daughter-in-law was hiding something. Something that began long before the wedding day. Something that started the moment she stepped into my son's life. And as the police car pulled away from the venue with Charlotte inside, I realized the nightmare had only just begun. Because they were heading toward my house, my memories, my sanctuary. And whatever secret was inside, it had to be something worth ruining her wedding over, something worth a public outburst, something worth violence. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle into my bones. "Jamie," I whispered, "we need to go home." He nodded, jaw clenched in dread. Inside me, something shifted. The embarrassment burned. The slap stung. But more than that, I wanted answers, and I would get them. even if it meant tearing apart every lie Charlotte ever told. The car ride back to my house felt unreal, like I was traveling through fog. My cheeks still throbbed where Charlotte had slapped me, but the pain felt distant compared to the storm inside my chest. Jamie drove in silence. His fingers gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Every few minutes, he would glance at me, then quickly look away, as if he was afraid I'd break open in front of him. But it wasn't me he was afraid of breaking. It was the truth. Because once we stepped inside that house, whatever the police were looking for would change everything. When we pulled into the driveway, police cars already lined the street. 2 officers directed us where to park. People stood on their porches, whispering, staring, pointing. The humiliation from the wedding flooded me again, but I held my head high. I had lived in this neighborhood for 30 years. I wasn't going to let gossiping mouths take that from me. An officer approached. "Mrs. Vance, we need access to the inside. We have a warrant for a full search of the property." I nodded and unlocked the door. As soon as the officers stepped in, something inside me twisted. My home, the place James and I built, brick by brick, was about to be turned upside down because of a woman I barely trusted, because of Charlotte. They split off into teams, one upstairs, one downstairs, another checking the basement. I clutched the edge of the kitchen counter, trying to steady my breath. Jamie hovered behind me, eyes darting around as if trying to find somewhere to land, some anchor in the chaos. "Mom," he whispered, "did you notice anything strange? Anything missing? Anything out of place?" I swallowed. Yes, I had. But mothers stay quiet. We don't want to be right when the truth hurts our children. Before I could answer, we heard a voice from the hallway. "Officer Hart, you're going to want to see this." Jamie and I followed the officers down the hallway toward the door of the laundry room, except the door wasn't fully open. It was stuck. The officer tugged again and again. "Something blocking it," he muttered. "Give me a hand." Another officer joined him. They pushed together, forcing the door open with a loud crack. What we saw inside made the blood in my veins run cold. My laundry baskets, normally sitting neatly near the dryer, were shoved haphazardly against the back wall. But that wasn't the shocking part. What froze us all was the cabinet. A cabinet that shouldn't have been there. A tall, metal, locked cabinet with a digital keypad. Jamie's voice cracked. What is that?" I shook my head, stunned. I've never seen that before. This wasn't here 2 days ago." One of the officers stepped forward, examining the keypad. No signs of forced entry. Someone installed this intentionally. "Can you open it?" Jamie asked, voice trembling. The officer nodded. "We will. But first, Mrs. Vance, have you given anyone permission to store anything in your home? Anyone with access other than you or your son?" I hesitated. Charlotte had been here, often, too often. But I forced myself to protect Jamie from my suspicions. "I gave no one permission," I said firmly. Jamie exhaled sharply, hurt and relief mixing on his face. The officers got to work on the lock. One of them typed expertly on the keypad, overriding it with a small device. Seconds later, it beeped. The cabinet clicked open. And inside were pills. Hundreds of bottles, in rows, some sealed, some half-used, some with labels ripped off, some with names that weren't mine. Dozens of prescription bottles bearing names of patients I didn't recognize. My heart dropped into my stomach. "Oh my God," Jamie whispered. "Mom, these are stolen prescriptions. This is a crime scene." I steadied myself against the wall, because something inside that cabinet was even more disturbing. A small, black bag. The officer pulled it out. It jingled. He opened it. Inside were credit cards, at least 15 of them, all with different names, some brand new, some used. Identity theft, fraud, stored inside my house. My knees nearly buckled. "Mrs. Vance," the officer said softly, "were you aware of any of this?" I shook my head, tears burning behind my eyes. "No, I didn't know. I had no idea." Jamie took a step backward as if the room had suddenly shrunk. He grabbed at his hair, pacing. This can't be real. This can't be. Mom, how? Who would. Your wife, the officer said simply. Jamie froze. He didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. His entire world was collapsing in front of him. But the officers weren't finished. Sir, someone called from the laundry room, there's a false wall panel here. The officer pulled the cabinet fully away from the wall. Behind it, part of the drywall looked newer, freshly patched, slightly uneven. We're going to have to open this, the officer said. Jamie looked at me, his face pale, his lip trembling. Mom, what was she hiding in there? I didn't know. I wasn't sure I wanted to. The officer drove a crowbar under the edge and pulled. The panel cracked open. A small, hidden compartment, maybe 2 feet wide, appeared. Inside was a shoebox. An old, worn shoebox with my late husband's handwriting on the lid. I stepped backward. That's James's writing, I whispered. This box belonged to him. We used to keep old letters in it. Jamie stared at it as if it were a ghost. The officer opened it. Inside were old deeds, property tax documents, bank statements from 20 years ago, a life insurance policy, a sealed envelope labeled, "For Jamie Only." And at the bottom was a small folded piece of paper in handwriting I did not recognize. The officer unfolded it. Jamie and I leaned in. The note read, "Find these before she does. Lock them away. She's not who she says she is. T.H." Jamie frowned. Who's T.H.? I felt my heart hammer. I knew that name. T.H. was Tracy Hill, Charlotte's mother. Charlotte's mother who died 2 years ago. Why would she leave a warning hidden in my house? Why would she hide documents from my husband's life in a wall? Jamie stepped back and stared at the floor as if trying to calculate his own memories. My God, he murmured. My God, what did Charlotte's family want from us? An officer approached us. We ran an initial check on the prescription bottles. Some are tied to an active investigation from the clinic where your daughter-in-law works. It appears someone has been siphoning medication, possibly for resale. I closed my eyes, heart sinking. Charlotte. Pharmacy tech. Always working late. Always doing favors for patients. Jamie rubbed his face with both hands. This can't be happening. But it wasn't over. The officer added, one more thing. Some of these credit cards were used to make purchases delivered to this address. Mrs. Vance, did you notice any unusual packages arriving? My throat tightened. I had. God help me. But Charlotte always had excuses. Oh, that's Jamie's gift. Oh, it's wedding supplies. Oh, that one's makeup. Return order. Oh, your name was accidentally used. Small lies. Little lies. Layered until I questioned my own memory. A mother doesn't want to believe her future daughter-in-law is stealing identities out of her laundry room, but the truth doesn't need permission. Jamie leaned against the doorframe, staring at the cabinet, the pills, the cards, the documents, the note. His eyes glistened. Mom, he whispered, did Dad know her? The question felt like a blade twisting in my chest. No, I whispered quietly. Your father died before Charlotte ever came into our lives. Jamie nodded slowly. And yet, her mother left a note warning us about her own daughter, hidden in our house. The implication was horrifying. The connection between Charlotte's family and ours ran deeper than we thought. Possibly years deep. Possibly before the wedding. Possibly before the engagement. Possibly a part of a plan. A plan that involved my home, my documents, my husband's legacy, my son. The officer interrupted our spiral. Mrs. Vance, Mr. Vance, we need to continue searching the property. There may be more. I straightened my back. Search everything, I said quietly. Every corner, every drawer, every locked box. I want the truth. Jamie looked at me, heartbroken, angry, terrified. And then he said something I'd never forget. Mom, what if the woman I married never loved me at all?
Tears pooled in my
The
eyes, but I
officers
didn't
spread
answer,
out across the
because for the
house,
first
their
time, I didn't
radios
know.
crackling softly
But I
as
knew
they
one
searched
thing.
room by room.
Charlotte had
Jamie stood in the
secrets,
hallway
and
like
the
a man
police
in
had only
shock,
begun to
his
surface
wedding
them.
ring still new, still shining, but already poisoned by doubt. I placed a hand on his shoulder. "Sit down, sweetheart, you're shaking." He shook his head, his voice thin. "I can't sit. I don't even understand what's happening. How could she do this? How could she hide all this here?" Before I could answer, another officer approached. "Mrs. Vance, may we check the attic?" I nodded. Of course. The attic. A place I rarely entered anymore. Ever since my husband passed, I avoided it. Too many memories, too many boxes full of life we had built together, too many reminders of a version of myself that once felt whole. The officers pulled down the attic ladder, dust puffing into the air. Jamie grabbed a flashlight and went up behind them. I followed slowly, the ladder creaking under my weight. The beam from Jamie's flashlight danced across the attic. Old furniture, Christmas decorations, boxes of letters, our wedding album, all untouched. But in the far corner, something felt off. One of the officers pointed his flashlight toward a stack of boxes. "Mrs. Vance, have these been moved recently?" My heart lurched. The boxes were stacked differently than I remembered. Neater, organized, tightly packed. Someone had been here. And not long ago. Jamie swallowed hard. "Mom, did you come up here?" "No," I whispered. "Not in years." The officer bent down, pressing his fingers into the dusty floorboards. Then he looked up. "No footprints here," he said. "But the dust around the boxes looks disturbed, recently." Then he pointed the flashlight at something behind the boxes. A suitcase. A black one. A brand new suitcase. One I had never seen before. Jamie's breath caught. "Is that—" The officer dragged it out. A tag hung from the handle. C.H. Charlotte Hill. Jamie staggered backward. "She had access to my house key," he said quietly. "God, she had my spare key. She could have come and gone whenever she wanted." The officer opened the suitcase. Inside were a burner phone, 2 envelopes full of cash, a stack of medical forms, several IDs with different names but Charlotte's face, a flash drive, a manila folder labeled Vance, private. I pressed a hand to my chest. Why did she have a file on my family? The officer opened the folder. Inside were notes, dates, bank account references, my mortgage document, my late husband's old life insurance policy, and a photograph. When the officer pulled it out, something inside me cracked. It was a photograph of my husband, James, standing with another woman, outside a clinic, smiling. Not intimately, not romantic, but familiar. Jamie frowned. "That's Dad, but who's the woman?" The officer turned the photo over. A note on the back read, 1992, Serenity Clinic, T.H. T.H. Tracy Hill. Charlotte's mother. Jamie blinked hard, confusion washing over his face. My dad knew Charlotte's mother? I sank onto the attic floor. This was impossible. Jamie whispered, "Mom, did he ever say anything about her?" "No," I said, shaking my head. "Your father never mentioned her, not once." The officer spoke gently. "Mrs. Vance, this contact might be entirely innocent, medical, professional, anything. But given the other evidence, we need to consider the possibility that this connection is part of something larger." Jamie whispered, "Did she target me?" I looked at him, my heart breaking. I had no answer, but silence said enough. Another officer plugged the flash drive into a laptop they had brought. "Let's see what she was storing," he said. Streams of files popped up immediately. Financial logs, transaction histories, prescription codes, fake identities, stolen insurance numbers, and then a folder labeled EV Important. EV, Eleanor Vance. Me. My stomach dropped. The officer clicked it open. Inside were scans of my driver's license,
my social security card, my bank statements, my property deed, my medical insurance, my signature, my late husband's old life insurance policy. Jamie stared horrified. She was going to steal your identity? He whispered. Mom, she was preparing everything. The officer nodded grimly. It appears your daughter-in-law was planning a full takeover of your assets, likely by moving or liquidating accounts using your identity, then transferring funds. The presence of older deeds and insurance suggests detailed planning. I felt sick. Jamie ran his hands over his face. She planned all this. She planned this while we were dating, while we were engaged, while we were... He choked on the last word. I squeezed his hand. But the officer wasn't done. There's one more file, he said quietly. A video. Jamie's breath hitched. A video? The officer clicked it, and the screen lit up. The video began with shaky footage. A dimly lit room, soft breathing, a woman speaking quietly. If you're watching this, she found me. My heart twisted. It was Tracy Hill, Charlotte's late mother. Older, tired, eyes rimmed with sadness. Jamie whispered, My God. She continued, My daughter, Charlotte, she's gotten involved with dangerous people. She's doing things I can't stop. She's stealing medication from the clinic, identities, money. She's mixed in with a group that resells prescriptions. My breath froze. Tracy wiped her eyes. I tried to make her stop. I tried everything. But she's smart. Too smart. She hides things in places no one would think to look. I found some of her files one day. I confronted her. Her voice trembled. She told me she was going to marry someone wealthy, someone with property, someone who could help her finish her plan. I begged her not to. She gripped the camera. If anything happens to me, please warn the Vance family. Charlotte is not who she pretends to be. She's dangerous, and she will destroy them if she gets the chance. The video ended abruptly. Silence crashed through the attic. Jamie collapsed onto a box, staring blankly ahead. My wife, he whispered, the woman I married, was going to destroy my entire family. Tears streamed down his face. I put my arms around him, feeling his body shake against mine. For a moment, he was my little boy again, the one who used to cry when he scraped his knee, the one I protected from bullies, the one who trusted too easily. Now he was a man whose life had been hijacked by lies. Just then, an officer's radio crackled. Update on the suspect, bringing her in for questioning now. She's demanding a lawyer but keeps asking about someone named Marcus. Jamie looked up. Marcus? Who the hell is Marcus? I inhaled sharply. I knew that name. I had heard Charlotte whisper it on the phone once. I thought it was a coworker or a cousin. But now... An officer checked his notes. Marcus Lane, recently arrested in connection with prescription fraud and drug trafficking. Jamie stared at me. She was working with him? Before I could speak, another officer from downstairs shouted, Detective, we found something in the basement. You're going to want to see this. Jamie's blood ran cold. The detective turned to him. Mr. Vance, Mrs. Vance, this investigation isn't over. Whatever we find next may be bigger than identity theft. Jamie stood. I took his hand. We headed for the basement stairs, hearts pounding, knowing the secret waiting down there wasn't just about fraud. It was about why Charlotte needed my keys and what she planned to do with them that could have destroyed us all.
The descent into the basement felt colder than usual, like the house itself was bracing for what we were about to uncover. Jamie gripped the stair railing so tightly his knuckles whitened. Behind us, 2 officers followed with flashlights drawn, beams slicing through the dimness. I had always hated the basement. It was James's domain. Tools, old filing cabinets, water heater, storage bins. I barely went down there anymore. But now, every step felt like walking deeper into a truth we were never meant to see. At the bottom, Detective Rowan stood beside a patch of wall where several shelves had been moved aside. "Mrs. Vance," he said, "was this like this before?" "No," I whispered. "Those shelves used to be against the wall. No reason to move them." Jamie knelt, running his fingers across the floor. "Fresh scrape marks." The detective nodded and pointed with his flashlight. "Look here." A square outline, faint but visible on the concrete wall. Jamie leaned closer. "It's a panel? But why would Dad—" "Your father didn't install this. This is recent. Within the last year, maybe less." A chill crawled up my spine. Within the last year? When Charlotte was already part of our lives? Already coming and going with Jamie's spare key? The detective wedged a flat tool under the edge of the panel. With a soft crack, it loosened. Behind it was a metal lockbox, bolted into the wall. Jamie froze. "What the hell?" The detective opened it. Inside lay a thick stack of documents, 2 memory cards, a small velvet pouch, a blood-stained prescription pad, and an envelope labeled, "If anything happens to me." My heart stuttered. Detective Rowan's voice softened. "Mrs. Vance, is this your handwriting?" I stared at the envelope. I I don't know. That's not mine. I've never seen this before." Jamie whispered. "Dad?" The detective met his gaze. "Possibly." Jamie swallowed hard. The detective opened the envelope carefully. Inside were several folded sheets, handwritten, in a style I knew instantly. James's handwriting. My husband, Jamie's father, dead for 4 years. I felt the world tilt. Detective Rowan unfolded the first page and began to read aloud. "Eleanor, if you're reading this, then something has happened I couldn't prevent." My knees weakened. Jamie grabbed my hand. "You remember the woman from the clinic, Tracy Hill? I helped her years ago, nothing romantic. She came to me desperate. Her ex-husband was abusive, dangerous, and she feared for her daughter's future." Jamie's breath hitched. "I kept her confidence. I helped her get treatment anonymously. I paid for part of the care. She insisted on thanking me, but she vanished shortly afterward." Detective Rowan paused. "That lines up with Tracy Hill's disappearance report from the 90s. He continued. "Decades passed. I never saw her again. Until one day, last year, a young woman appeared at our door. Charlotte Hill." Jamie's hand tightened. "She said she was Tracy's daughter, and she knew I had helped her mother. She thanked me. She seemed kind, but something was wrong." My pulse hammered. "She began visiting unexpectedly, asking about my old insurance policies, property deeds, financial planning, your health, Eleanor, my health." I gasped softly. The more questions she asked, the clearer it became she wasn't here for gratitude. She wanted access to everything. Jamie whispered, "Oh my God." Rowan read on. "I tried to warn Jamie discreetly, but you know how he is. He falls fast. I didn't want to accuse her without proof." Jamie's eyes filled. "I didn't listen to him. He tried to protect us even then. But when I confronted Charlotte, she smiled. Calm, cold. She told me she knew secrets about Tracy, and if I didn't cooperate, those secrets would explode our family." Detective Rowan lowered the page. "This explains motive." He continued reading. "I didn't trust her. I installed a lockbox down here and began documenting everything. Her visits, her questions, the paperwork I caught her snooping through." Jamie covered his mouth. "Then, 3 days before my collapse, I found her in the attic." I felt my body jolt like I'd been electrocuted.
She claimed she was looking for old wedding photos to surprise Jamie, but I saw what she really took: my folder on the house deed and Eleanor's medical insurance. My stomach twisted. If I'm gone and she gains access to your property and assets, she will destroy everything we built. Jamie stood still as stone. Please, Eleanor, please be safe. And Jamie, be careful who you trust. The page ended. Detective Rowan folded it carefully and placed it on the table. No one spoke, not even the officers near the stairs. The basement felt like a crypt containing a truth my husband died trying to protect us from. Detective Rowan lifted the 2 small memory cards from the lockbox. These might contain any surveillance or evidence your husband managed to gather. Jamie asked quietly, "Can we see them, please?" Rowan nodded to an officer. They loaded the first card into a portable reader. A grainy video played. It was our living room from years ago. James sat on the couch. Charlotte stood near the bookshelf. Jamie leaned forward, eyes burning. Charlotte was younger here, not yet polished, not yet practiced in deception. James's voice was calm but firm. "Charlotte, I don't understand why you need this. These are private documents." She smiled. "You helped my mother, Mr. Vance. I just want to make sure you're, well, taken care of." He frowned. "I don't need you to take care of me." Her smile faded, instantly cold. "You know, my mother always said good men are rare, and when you find one, you shouldn't let him go, ever." Jamie recoiled. "What the hell?" Rowan paused the video. This wasn't affection. This was coercion. Jamie's voice cracked. She was grooming him. For information, for access. The detective loaded the second card. This one was darker, recorded at night. Footage of the attic entering using a key, opening boxes, scanning documents with her phone. At one moment, she looked directly toward the camera, smiling, as if she knew she was being watched. Jamie flinched. That smile? She used that on me. I felt a tear slide down my cheek. Detective Rowan shut off the device. He said gently, "I'm going to be honest. This is one of the most calculated identity and property takeover schemes I've seen. Charlotte was building this for years, and she accelerated after your husband passed." I felt sick. "She needed my keys," I whispered. "To get into the attic again? To finish what she started?" Rowan nodded. "Yes, and likely to destroy the last piece of evidence she didn't know existed." Jamie clenched his jaw. "The letter?" "The letter," Rowan confirmed. "Your father predicted this." Just then, Rowan's radio buzzed sharply. "Detective, suspect is resisting, keeps saying she needs to talk to Marcus, claims Marcus will fix this." Marcus Lane, prescription trafficker, recent arrest. Rowan turned to us. "Your daughter-in-law wasn't working alone. She's part of something larger." Jamie whispered, "How much danger are we still in?" Rowan didn't sugarcoat it. A lot. He looked at me. "Mrs. Vance, Charlotte didn't just want your keys. She wanted your house." My chest tightened. "Why?" I whispered. Rowan exhaled slowly. "Because we just found something else." He pointed to the far corner of the basement, to the breaker panel. The officers walked us over. Behind the panel was another small, hidden compartment, easier to miss, newer. Inside was a prepaid phone, a list of addresses, several prescriptions, and a key. Not my house key, a storage unit key, with a tag. Rowan's expression darkened. This might be where the rest of her operation is stored, or where she planned to move your personal documents when she took your identity. Jamie's voice broke. "She wanted to erase my mom." Rowan nodded. "Or replace her." I felt faint. Jamie wrapped an arm around me. Mom, I'm so sorry. I brought this woman into our lives. I cupped his face. You didn't know. She fooled everyone, even your father. But she won't win, Jamie. She won't win now. Rowan cleared his throat.
The air outside the police station felt unnaturally still, like the world was holding its breath alongside us. Jamie walked beside me, tense, shoulders squared in a way I hadn't seen since he was a teenager trying to act brave in front of bullies. Only now, the bully was his own wife. We were escorted through security and into a long hallway where the echo of our footsteps sounded too loud, too sharp, like every noise was a warning. Detective Rowan stopped outside an interrogation room. "Before you go in," he said, "I need you both to understand something. Charlotte isn't apologizing, she isn't scared, she isn't confused." Jamie swallowed. "Then what does she want?" Rowan's jaw tightened. "Control." I felt cold. He continued, "She believes she can manipulate you the way she manipulated everyone else. Don't answer questions she doesn't ask. Don't defend yourself. Don't try to reason with her. She will twist every word." Jamie looked at me, eyes filled with pain. "Mom, are you sure you want to do this?" I placed a hand over his heart. "I've already been silent for too long, sweetheart." Rowan nodded to an officer who opened the door. We stepped inside. Charlotte sat at the metal table, hands cuffed, hair now messy from the struggle earlier. But her smile, that same smile from the attic video, the smile she used on my husband, on my son, on everyone she marked as her prey. "Jamie," she purred, ignoring me entirely. "Baby, finally." Jamie sat stiffly. I took the seat beside him. She glanced at me with disdain. "Still can't stay out of things that aren't your business, can you, Eleanor?" My stomach twisted, but my voice stayed steady. "You tried to steal my home. You don't even use half of the rooms. It would have been better in my hands." Jamie exhaled shakily. "Charlotte, did you ever love me? Even once?" She leaned back, smiling like the question was amusing. "Love? Please. I chose you. That's more meaningful." I felt Jamie's heart break beside me. He whispered, "Why?" She shrugged. "You were easy." Jamie flinched. "And your family was exactly what Marcus needed." My breath caught. His name. Marcus Lane. The name Rowan said earlier, the name tied to prescription trafficking, identity theft, and Tracy Hill's long-vanished past. I leaned forward. "Why were you connected to Marcus? What did he want with us?" Charlotte tilted her head. "He didn't want you. He wanted what's yours." Her voice sharpened. "And I was supposed to get it for him." Jamie's jaw clenched. "So you targeted me to get to my parents' house, their identity, their assets?" She smirked. "You think small. Marcus thinks bigger." My voice barely came out. "What does that mean?" Charlotte tapped her fingers on the table. "It means Marcus wasn't the first man to control my mother." I stiffened. "Jamie? Mom? That means—" Charlotte smiled viciously. "Oh yes, my father. The man you call Tracy's abusive ex. The man you thought he could hide us from." I felt sick. He found us, years later, and he told us everything. He told me about your husband, how he helped my mother, that he knew her secrets. And he told me where to find you." Jamie whispered, "This entire thing, it was revenge?" "Partially," she shrugged. "My mother didn't care about you. She died years ago. But my father? He wanted payback. And Marcus? He wanted profit." She leaned closer. "And I? I wanted a life that wasn't pathetic." I stared at her. "You slapped me in front of my entire family for a life you never deserved?" She rolled her eyes. "You weren't supposed to fall. You weren't supposed to bleed. You were just supposed to hand over the keys so I could get the documents before the wedding guests went home."
Jamie's voice cracked. You humiliated her. You almost killed her. She shrugged again. Collateral damage. Jamie broke. For the first time since childhood, I watched my son cry, not quietly, not politely, but with the grief of a man who realized his entire marriage had been a performance. Charlotte watched him like she was bored. I finally spoke. You hurt my son. You stole from my husband. You invaded my home. You tried to erase me. Her eyes narrowed. You should have stayed quiet. Old people should know their place. Jamie inhaled sharply. That's enough. But I held up a hand. No, sweetheart. Let her talk. She smirked. You were never supposed to find your husband's lockbox. You weren't supposed to know about the attic. You weren't supposed to survive long enough for the police to get involved. Jamie went rigid. What do you mean, survive? Charlotte's voice softened in a way that made my skin crawl. Accidents happen at weddings. Jamie stood up abruptly, chair screeching. I'm done. Let me out. He rushed out of the room, shaking, devastated. Charlotte watched him go with a smirk. Poor baby. He'll get over it. I remained seated. Her eyes slid back to me. Now, old woman, you're going to drop all charges, sign the transfer documents for the house, and tell the police this was a misunderstanding. The arrogance, the audacity, the entitlement. I leaned forward, hands folded. And what makes you think I'd ever do that? Her smile turned venomous. Because if you don't, my father will come for you. He never forgets loose ends. I looked into her eyes, and I saw it. The emptiness, the fear she masked with cruelty, the desperation beneath her confidence. She wasn't a mastermind. She was a puppet. But I was done being anyone's victim. I stood. You made one fatal mistake, Charlotte. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, and what's that? I leaned close, my voice a whisper sharp as glass. You targeted the wrong family. Her smile faltered. You see, my husband left us evidence. The police have your entire operation. And Marcus Lane, he's already in custody. They're flipping him for a plea deal. Her eyes widened. And guess who he's naming as the one who delivered prescriptions, falsified documents, and helped target vulnerable families? She shook her head. No, he wouldn't. Oh, yes, I whispered, he already has. She pulled against her cuffs, panic rising. You liar, you're lying. I smiled softly. Detective Rowan told me everything. You're finished. Just then, Rowan opened the door. Mrs. Vance, it's time. Charlotte screamed. No, she can't leave! She can't leave! I'm not done! Rowan stepped inside as she thrashed. Oh no, he said calmly. You're very much done. The door shut behind us as her screams echoed down the hallway. And for the first time in a long time, I felt safe.
Weeks passed. Charlotte was charged with assault, identity theft, attempted property fraud, prescription forgery, organized criminal conspiracy. Her father and Marcus were indicted on multiple felony counts. The house, my house, was safe. One morning, I found Jamie sitting in the living room, staring at the photo of him and his father. I'm so sorry, Mom, he whispered. I wrapped my arm around him. You trusted someone who lied. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. He nodded slowly. I should have listened to Dad. I smiled gently. He tried his best, and now he's still protecting us, even from the grave. Jamie leaned on my shoulder. Mom, what do we do now? I looked around our home, our memories, our legacy. We heal, I said, and we rebuild. He exhaled shakily. And Charlotte? I kissed his forehead. She'll face a justice she can't manipulate. Outside, the wind rustled the trees James planted decades ago. I closed my eyes. For the first time since the wedding, I felt peace. because my silence didn't protect our family. My voice did. And this time, I wasn't afraid to use it.